Selamat datang semuanya. Welcome to my video here about third person object focus, a key feature of Indonesian grammar. This video will explain to you why we use third person object focus in Indonesian, how we do it, and the parts of sentences. Okay. So one of the key things we've first got to know about third person object focus is about word order. So in all languages there are three possible word orders, and the Indonesian language is one of very few languages that allows us to use all three depending on how we're speaking or how we're using the language. So there's the first word order, which is the one we use in English, which in Indonesian is just the subject focus form. So it's subject, the verb, then the object. Then the two others there, you've got object, verb, subject. This is the form that we use when we're using Indonesian third person object focus constructions, and that will be the focus of today's video. And then the third one, which is object, subject, verb, okay, which is when we use first and second person Indonesian object focus, okay, and I'll go through that one in another video if you wish to know about that. Now, we talked about the word order, and we need to know about the parts of a sentence to sort of understand that. So sentences are made up of three main parts. Okay, so the first one is the subject. Okay, and the subject is the person or the thing which completes the action in the sentence, or the doer. So whoever's doing the action is the subject. The next one is the verb. It's the action in the sentence. Usually very easy to find in Indonesian, marked by a m on the front of the verb of the word there. The last one, the object, is the person or thing affected by the verb or the action. Okay, when we're in subject focus, object's always at the back, subject's always at the front. Usually pretty easy to find. Now another part of sentences that we find common in all sentences is auxiliary verbs. Now we've got a list there of some examples of auxiliary verbs in Indonesian, but the basic sort of explanation of the auxiliary verb is they occur before a verb in a sentence and usually add information to a verb. Okay, so you've got some examples there. So will, must, can, may, like. So you can add these to sentences just to give extra meaning, extra information. And they can usually be interchangeable. Okay, so you can replace them at will with that, and the sentence will still make sense. Now we're talking about first, second, third person. And it's really important when we're doing this kind of thing, subject focused, object focused, that we understand what we're talking about when we're talking about first, second and third. So when we are talking about those things, we're talking about pronouns, okay? And pronouns are words which represent or describe people, okay? And personal pronouns can be broken up into three types. So first, second and third. Now first person pronouns are examples of, I in a sentence. So when you're talking, you're the first person in that conversation. So in Indonesian is I, we've got I, which can be saya or aku, or we or us, which is kami. Okay, so they're examples of first person pronouns. It's important we understand which pronouns are what, so we can use the right rule. So today we couldn't apply the rule that we're going to talk about with the first person pronouns, only third, so it's important to understand the difference. Okay, second person pronouns, so that's usually the other person in the conversation. So you've got I and the person talking to the you. So Indonesian, again, you've got anda and kamu for you, and they've also got kalian, which is the plural form of you, which English is sort of like use. And then we've also got us and we, but this time it's kita, so it's including the person that you're speaking to, so it's the inclusive form. Now third person pronouns, these are the ones that we can use with our rule today, so it's important that we understand what they are. So the third person pronoun is someone who's outside our conversation. So it's not me, it's not you, it's someone else. Okay, so the examples there, he or she, dia, they or them, mereka. Okay, proper name or title of a person. So for example, ibu saya, guru kamu, a name, Budi. Or it could also be a name of group or an organisation. So sekolah saya, my school, or team kita, our team. You're talking about someone outside the conversation, someone who's not there. It's third person. Now, we're talking about object focus, and it's important that you understand why we must use object focus. So Indonesians use object focus constructions as they prefer to talk about the object first in the sentence, Okay, this is opposite to English. Okay, we prefer to use the subject, the person doing the action. You should use object-focused constructions when writing or speaking to demonstrate a high knowledge or skill of the Indonesian language, and that gets really important when we're getting, to the higher levels of school and VCA, and when you're actually speaking with Indonesian people. Now we're going to run through the rule here. The third person object-focused rule can be confusing at first, but once you get the idea, it's pretty simple. Okay, so we've got up the top here, we've got a standard sentence. So you've got your subject, your auxiliary, your verb, and your object. So it's in subject focus form here. Okay, and then to change it into object focus, it's usually very, very simple, as you can see if you follow the rule. So because it's object focused, the object always goes at the front. So we take the object from the back, put it at the front. The subject goes from the front to the back. We're changing the focus. Okay, the next thing that you need to do is here you've got the mer verb. So the mer verb stays where it is in the sentence, but it changes from a mer to a d verb. Now it doesn't change the meaning at all, it just marks that it's in a third person in an object focused construction. And the last bit that changes here, we add the word ole after our verb. Now ole just means by, and it's used so it makes it sound more smoother, and that will make sense when we go through the worked examples. Okay, so here's our first worked example. Pretty simple sentence. So it's Sarah mau membeli sepatu baru. So Sarah wants to buy new shoes. Now we're going to change this from a subject focused sentence to an object focused sentence. So you can see the object sepatu baru has been moved to the front. Okay, the auxiliary has stayed where it was, like the rule says. The verb here has been moved. It hasn't been moved, just stayed where it is, but it's changed from a verb membeli to d-belly, and the meaning has not changed. I added ole after the verb, and then the subject is at the back. So it went from Sarah wants to buy new shoes to the new shoes want to be bought by Sarah. Okay, so the meaning of the sentence is still the same, but the focus has been switched. Okay, our next example. So this one is a bit more complicated. Okay, and what we're trying to demonstrate here is that when you have times or places in your sentence that you're trying to change, they can usually stay where they are. They don't need to be moved. Okay, for the sentence to make sense. So we look at the top one here, which is in subject focus. Pada hari Senin, ibu saya akan memasak kue di rumah. So on Monday, my mum will cook the cake at home. Okay, so we change it again. So the time, pada hari Senin, on Monday, and di rumah can stay where they are. Okay, just keep them where they are in the sentence. We've moved kue, our object, the cake, to the front position where the subject was. The auxiliary, akan, has stayed where it was. The verb has stayed where it was. Okay, it's just changed from a m to a d to mark it's in object focus. Ole, again, has came into the space behind the verb, and the subject has gone at the back. Okay, so again it's gone from on Monday mum will cook the cake at home to on Monday the cake will be cooked by mum at home. So it's just switching the focus from the person to the object. Now when we're doing third person object focus and the pronoun that we're using, or the pronoun in our sentence, is mereka or dia, we can do something slightly different. Okay, so for our mereka or dia, they can be replaced by nya when we're changing to object focus. Okay, so our example here, mereka memakai topi, so they are wearing a hat. Okay, so we're talking about people, they're wearing a hat. This changes following the same rule. So our topi, our object, goes at the front. Our verb changes from memakai to dipakai. Ole goes afterwards, but instead of writing mereka or dia, we can just shorten it to nya, and that goes on the end of ole. Okay, I hope that's explained a little bit about third person object focus. You got any suggestions or hints about the video or topics that you want to be covered? Post in the comments. So terima kasih atas perhatian Anda, Thanks for watching. Sampai jumpa.